Welcome everyone, let's get going. Right, you've got a weekly chart on the left, daily on the right. We've got UK jobs tomorrow and US inflation coming up. So let's just see what this jolt to the market has actually done. It's if you look at it in the context of a weekly chart on the Dow, we've just nestled back into a key level of support. This trend line support I had drawn for quite a while, coming from the November 20 lows to the June 22 lows. And here we are just nestling. So if we hold here, we could move up quite well because there is a potential head and shoulders here. However, quite a little plunge down here. So if we close underneath this 32,000, then expect this to wind down. It's triple witching. Triple witching is the rollover of the futures contracts and the options expiry, etc. It's only 4 of these a year. Normally it's third Friday of the month you get just an options expiry, but this is a full-blown contract rollover as well. Okay, so what should you do? Well, I think see how we close today. All the time we're under this 50-day average, short any highs. So if we come into 32,750 and close lower, then you know that is an opportunity to potentially get short. But if we at any stage, but obviously today's close is important. I don't think we're going to move much from this close, but you never know. If we close above 32.3, then expect this to keep punching higher. Look at the volume here. We had a really nice volume on Friday. This little black close here is actually a Sunday close. Long story, but it's easier to leave that in rather than kick it out of this chart package. This is pro real time, by the way, in case you're interested. And right, so we've had this pullback into this major support. Let's look at the FTSE. So all this January, all the first part of this year, my talks were headed the next, wait for the crash in the FTSE. So here we've got this is much weaker, much more significant drop in this weekly chart. So any pullbacks, I think this is probably the best chart at the moment. Any pullback to say 76.50. Let's see if we can drop back to 7,400. I think this is just going to give way. We've got the Chancellor speaking this week, haven't we? We've got the budget. Let me just see when that is. I'm guessing that's Wednesday. Yes, it's core inflation on Wednesday. And UK jobs tomorrow, as I've said. When is the budget then? Got a Euro rate decision on Thursday. We're looking for the Europe ACB to put the rates up 0.5%. Okay, I thought the budget was this week. Maybe it's not. Right, so the selling this FTSE looks better. We're coming down on volume, so that is clearly fixed at the moment. If you look a quick look at the DAX, very similar pattern. So when you pull back to 250 on the DAX is potentially going to take us down to 14.5. Again, but if you look at the weekly, we're just disconnected with this average. This average is a 20-day average. If we can't reconnect with that and pick up, then we could push back up to the highs. But at the moment, so we're just moving back to mean averages, which the markets do every now and again, particularly after they get overbought. Right. That's the trigger, but I do keep an eye on the news. Yeah, I mean, obviously that is the latest story. That's been the main catalyst. But it was all the reason why I was talking about this FTSE coming down from these highs is simply because the technicals say that we're overbought. That's all. I thought we would actually sell in the middle of January, so I'm surprised we pushed up higher into February. But once we got up there, I was still suggesting, well, this time last week, I was suggesting we short this at 79.50, 8,000. Excuse me. So now that has actually crumbled. We need to keep shorting the highs until they stop working. In the meantime, the oil is, you can see this oil weekly chart. This is the most telling chart. We're in a very tight range, very tight range. So on this supply shock from into early 22, we had a lower high, and we come right back into the range that we broke out from. So if we break this low, if we close under this 72, obviously 70, commodities like big numbers, then expect that to get much lower. You can see on the daily chart, we've been tapping this 72.50 3 times since the January 4th low. So if this is a bullish consolidation, this dip into that support is obviously, well, bullish consolidation, you're going to buy it. I think we could pick up from here. This is cyclically, this is normal for oil. So if we find ourselves holding this 72.5, closing higher, I think we can punch up. I'm expecting this to get close to 95 at the end of the year. 95 will put it up here, back into September levels. So anyway, I think the best thing you can do at the moment is to back off from oil, short the highs in the FTSE. Euro is picking up in preparation for this rate decision on Thursday. So the dollar is coming off. It's unusual for the dollar to come off and the markets to drop at the same time. So that convergence, they have the two dropping off, is often a sign of quite a degree of fear in the market. All right, so silver's having a good time as well. Let's get an update on the wheat, because I keep talking about the wheat. So the wheat is on the weekly chart, has just come into this July 21 support. So it looks like I've been buying wheat a little bit too early. So if we may come all the way down to this $6, but if we just sit on top of this $6.50, $7, then I'm definitely going to top that up. I have scaled out. I've reduced my exposure to wheat, having thought that this $7, $7.20, and then subsequently this $7 down here was going to hold. So if that picks up from here, I'm in, because I believe wheat is going to finish the year. I think wheat could finish the year at least conservatively around the $9-10 mark. Longer term, I think we're going to go back to those highs and break much higher, but we could wobble a lot in between. So I'm long term, I'm very bullish the wheat. Short term, obviously, we've got to get this noise out of the way, see where we are. Right, let's have a quick look at the pound. Anything you want me to look at? Just going to drag this list over here, actually. Pull that over and give us a bigger weekly chart. Oh, no. Bitcoin, good thing. Yeah. Well, if you look at I think it's explained in what the weekly's done. Big move up off of 16,670 area in January this year. We've just closed the gap. I think it's explainable by looking at that gap. So we gapped up on the week beginning the 16th of Jan. We backfilled it last week. We've held that 20-day average, and now we're popping up. So it's had a sharp put. Yeah, there it is, explained on the daily chart. I had this line put on after that gapped up. Very neat buy signal on Saturday. I'm short-term bullish, but wow, I mean, my message to you is don't chase the markets, and this is just absolutely shot up. So I would. And now it's gone a long way into this resistance. I would. Wow, once this breaks up, it's hard to call. I would suggest it's going to come back to at least 20 because it's gone so far so fast. Sure, I'm not missing anything. Hang on. Oh, hang on a second. Just bear with me a minute. I got it. Okay, sorry, I've sent the real link on the WhatsApp. Right, and same with the gold. This gold has shot up. I think this gold's gap now. So I would expect at some stage, whether or not we're going to do it in the next day or two, are you still talking about Bitcoin? Yeah. Well, I'm not a trader of Bitcoin, but I think that's too fast. So I would be patient for a pullback. But now we've got the same thing with the gold. The gold shot up, left a gap. So I think that's possible. We could. We've got inflation coming out this week, so I think we might see that drift back to the trendline support down there at 1850. So let's look at the miners, because the miners are getting really picking up. So Pan-African has had a higher close on Friday, and that's popped up. I think these are now buyable. 1380 is the pullback on Pan-African. Sylvania has just closed the gap. There's a gap made on the 17th of Feb. We've just closed the gap on this SLV. So I think these are all buyable in my book. Don't chase the market. Try and wait for 94 on this one. And hostile, I talked about. Yeah, so these are all really nice charts. There's volume coming in on these miners. So these miners look as if they are ripe now to get in. Let's look at some UK retail. Let's look at Boo. Now Boo's been on a decent run from a low of 33 to a high of 58. Is it shortable? Yes, could do. Got a lower close on the weekly chart. I think I'm not a big fan of this sector anyway. If I'm gonna, I have been trying to look at a short on shoe zone. Yeah, so that's just pulling back into the 50-day average now. We've got a gap up there at 250. I've got set an alert for 259. I'm going to sit tight and see if that 259 gets tapped. In the meantime, let's look at some US stuff. Because I think you see this FCX, the copper miner. Copper's doing really well. So I think this is, if this comes into 35.90 or lower. So already today this has come, we had a run into 46.45. Already today the volume's coming in on this. Nvidia, so this has been on a huge run. So we're just seeing some profit taking and pullbacks in this at the moment. CCJ was a good one. Yeah, so that's not so keen on that. I do like FCX on a bigger pullback. Right, anything else you want me to look at? I was going to look at so I've been buying into Pfizer. I've obviously bought a little bit too early because it's gone right into 38.50 on this weekly chart. But these very decent volume coming to Pfizer now, so I think I might add to that. If we close well today, I think we're going to add to that Pfizer. And a couple of other ones I've been following. Vodafone. The Vodafone's got a gap. Seems to be a story of gaps at the moment. We've got a gap down there at 92. We're currently 96. So I think that gap is buyable. It might overshoot the gap. You never know. There's no saying it's definitely going to fill. And BT's hit a resistance level at 150, pulling back. If I would like that at 125, 128. That might, if that comes down to that level, I think that's a good level to get in. Right. Let me see if there's any questions on YouTube. Let me just. Are we going to have a bigger crash? Yeah, well, like I said, I've been talking about this market pulling back. Let me just go and look at the trade a second. Just need to adjust the trade. I've been looking for this market to pull back since January, February anyway. I've been looking for it to sell into resistance and pull right back. I'm surprised, like I said earlier, I'm surprised it got this far up. So yeah, I think there's further to fall. I'm in the camp of further to fall. Just definitely for the European indices. I don't know. If you look at the European indices compared to the US, this made new all-time highs, but up here in mid-Feb, middle of last month, whereas the Dow was nowhere near last year's highs, let alone new highs. The FTSE made new highs. This couldn't even get back to last year's highs. So I'm far more bearish on the European indices because the US have come right back into support. So just to recap, I'm hoping that the gold will fill that backfill. I do like the Vodafone and the BTs of this world. I do think they're good on pullbacks. The miners are doing well. I think the miners are worth a pullback. If they give it another day or two, if you're a swing trading miners like me, because if we can pull back into this support over the next 48 hours, I would be a buyer. Okay, I said I was going to check on any YouTube comments. Let me just do that now. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it there. I've got a lot of work to do anyway. And not stretching my accounts in any other directions other than that anyway at the moment. So thanks for visiting, and I will now before we go, I just remembered I need to, I'm doing a, where has it gone? Got it here. Tomorrow I am talking in a US conference at 7 o'clock UK time. So I would very much like you to join me to talk about, I'm going to talk about the commodity boom tomorrow, and I'm going to talk in detail about oil, but I'm going to talk about metals in particular, and all the main commodities, including softs, metals, and precious metals. I'm going to talk about them all in great detail. I'm going to talk about what I think is a commodity super cycle. I'm going to explain why I think it's a commodity super cycle and what I'm doing about that, how I'm taking part in that. And so I do hope you will join me. Sign up for that link. And I hope to see you there. All right. Thanks very much for your company. I will go into more detail throughout the week, and particularly next Monday's session will be longer. Thanks very much, guys. See you soon. Bye.